Focus on the caregiver's needs. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and lately I have been talking a lot about long-term care through the lens of the Veterans Administration's Geriatrics and Extended Care webpage. You've probably heard me say before that long-term care is its own bureaucratic quagmire and is complicated by the fact that at the point in a veteran's life when they need to navigate this maze, well, they might not be able to do it entirely on their own. They might need a family member or caregiver or social worker to help them along the way. It's pretty broad, so you might need some kind of guide to figure out what's best. To help with that decision making, the VA provides 2 questionnaires. One is for the veteran who would receive care, and the other is for the caregiver who would either provide or coordinate that care. And I'll put a link to both of these questionnaires in the description. And what I'm going to suggest in a bit is that if you are the veteran who is going to need care, you might take a pretty strong interest in that caregiver's self-assessment. Because the easiest way for you to maintain the lifestyle that you prefer is for your caregiver to be able to support that decision. To see what I mean, let's take a look at the questions asked of the veteran. In the first part, they ask, what are your needs, who helps you, and where do you want to live? Basically, do you want to stay in your home or go someplace else? Then, the questionnaire walks the veteran through a wide array of options and asks them to explain why they prefer specific solutions. And then, it encourages the involvement of others in the decision-making process. It asks who these people are and why they agree or disagree with the veteran's choices. And then, the form just kind of reiterates all those options with the goal of trying to narrow them down to options where there's some agreement. There's some steps that are designed to get the veteran to talk to more people and to ask more questions, but I gotta be honest, this questionnaire, it's kind of dry. In fact, it's kind of skimpy. And what is particularly striking is when you compare the veteran's decision support aid with that caregiver's self-assessment. The caregiver's questionnaire quickly gets into questions about how the caregiver feels about their role. How long have they been doing it? Does the veteran live with them? How much support does the caregiver provide? And how much support does the caregiver feel for their role? Then the self-assessment goes on to ask about the physical demands of caring for the veteran, the types of support provided to the veteran, and the impact that caring has on paid work, education, and other aspects of the caregiver's life. And then the caregiver assesses their level of stress with the role. Is it affecting sleep, their family life, their anger, their health? And only then does the caregiver self-assessment touch on the different care options for the veteran. It doesn't even list them. It just points the caregiver towards resources. So what's my point? Well, the well-being of your caregiver is likely to be a significant contributor to decisions about what kind of long-term care option is best for you. So be mindful of any potential caregiver's ability to, put up with your nonsense. Number 2, I really don't think that most veterans need a complicated questionnaire to figure out what long-term care solution they prefer best. It's really easy. I want to stay in my own home, living independently as long as I possibly can. Sure, there's probably someone who's cheerfully volunteering to go into a memory care facility, but I've never met him. What that means is that I've got to make decisions over the next, decade and a half that make independent living as easy as possible for me, and the kind of decisions that make caregiving for me less burdensome on family members. For example, we're planning a bathroom remodeling project that converts a half bath to a full bath on the first floor. Difficulty climbing stairs isn't one of those daily activities that normally gets a lot of attention, but at the same time, you can imagine how a staircase could kind of complicate your ability to stay in your own home. And finally, I'm going to recommend that you watch this video about long-term care options. it is a little bit boring, but having a good lay of the land gives you an idea about what options exist, which ones might be tolerable to you, and which ones you might want to avoid.